I made it all up, Double D. Everything about my brother was a lie. I just made things up so people would like me, think I was cool. But boy, was I wrong. Scam my brother, this. When am I gonna learn, Double D?
Eddy idolized his abuser for the attention and acceptance of others. That's all he ever wanted this entire series. To finally be appreciated. To finally win something. To finally impress his brother. By using the same shameful tactics he was taught as a child. Eddy's backstory demonstrates people don't necessarily behave the way they do because that's just who they are. And sure, it doesn't always justify their actions, but it does put things into perspective. It's easy to revert to hatred or seeking revenge when somebody crosses our line because naturally, we believe that's what they deserve. But in reality, all Eddy really needed was for someone to appreciate him in a way he deserved to be his entire childhood.
Grab him!
You're beautiful as you are, Courage. With all your imperfections, you can do anything.
I have to give credit to this cartoon for tackling deep and emotional messages like this. It's something you can't fully appreciate until you're an adult. The truth of how imperfection is an illusion is one of the most important lessons that I personally have ever learned throughout my lifetime. It's the ultimate message that I try to preach in my videos, to express yourself fully, openly, and honestly. That's why we were all created to begin with. What's so fun about living someone else's life? You are perfect by default. And all the people who say you'll never make it because you don't fall in line with the boring standards set by society can screw off. That logic is fundamentally flawed. What even is imperfection? The whole concept of it is completely subjective, and I would argue doesn't even exist. Not everything is going to turn out the way it was originally intended, and that's okay. We can still find beauty by making the most of what we do have. Society shames us all the time for the smallest things that don't even matter. That's why it's so easy to get caught up in trying to impress everybody and getting frustrated when we realize that's impossible to do. True happiness comes from expression and not impression. That's how Courage defeats the perfectionist at the end of the episode, with his creativity. And as a result, in the final scene, we can see he has finally accepted himself for who he is. Eustace is enjoying his broken horn and is letting Courage eat at the table. Muriel is still optimistic and smiling. Everything is perfect. This ending is perfect. This episode is perfect. This show is perfect. And you watching this, you are perfect. In the words of Frankie Foster, imagine if you were able to have anything you ever wanted, except one thing. But that one thing is what you wanted more than anything else. For World, that thing was a friend. That's all he ever wanted. That's what he was trying to protect. This character can easily be mistaken as the villain of this movie. But when you put yourself in his shoes, you start to understand why he behaves the way that he does. The truth is, he was completely misunderstood and didn't know how to control his emotions. In our society nowadays, it's easy to revert to name-calling and seeking revenge on the people who have wronged us in the past. Our confusion automatically leads to our frustration when the answers are found in their backstory. How were they raised? What traumatic experiences have they gone through? For World, he was literally trapped in a box his whole life. Sure, he has the entire universe to himself, but what he was missing was a purpose. what he was missing was a friend. I think the main reason I like Miles so much is because he reminds me of myself. For one, he's black, and I'm also black, so that automatically makes him the best character in movie history. But on a serious note, his struggles are ones that I used to have myself. I've been in his shoes, so I feel his pain when he feels helpless or the elephant in the room. Despite his big heart and optimism, deep down he truly cares about how people perceive him. He displays signs of confidence when practicing something, but when it's showtime, he freezes up and overthinks his situation. He has a difficult time relaxing when it's time for him to perform. And I'm sure we've all been there. I think one of the problems we fall into sometimes is being more of a dreamer rather than a believer. It isn't until Uncle Aaron's death and some uplifting words by his father that Miles was finally able to embrace his role as being Spider-Man, which he was all along. It was just difficult for him to accept that reality. His greatness was realized once he finally changed his mindset from "I wish I were Spider-Man" to "I am Spider-Man." This is the most epic part of this movie, and it's the scene that immediately pops into my head when I think of Into the Spider-Verse. It provides the audience with an important message, and that is, don't chase after dreams. Believe that you are already that dream and take that leap of faith.
The only true meaning of life is finding your own way to enjoy it.
This episode offers a multitude of different perspectives about what the meaning of life is, and what's interesting is that none of them are necessarily wrong per se. Every character experiences life differently, so of course their meanings aren't all going to be the same. It's just that's the meaning of life from their perspective, whether positive or negative. However, I don't think any of these answers provide the most accurate explanation. From my experience and from the research I've gathered throughout the years, the true meaning of life is to express yourself fully, openly, lovingly, and honestly. That might sound like some BS fairy tale explanation, but in actuality, it is the exact reason why we are all here, whether you realize it or not. We are all natural creators. We all have emotions. We all have abilities. We all have a purpose. So what is there left to do other than to express ourselves in the best way we possibly can? The phrase, "what is the point of life?" has a negative connotation to it. I'm not saying everybody who questions life is in a depressive state, but really this question is only brought up when our lives isn't the way we want it to be. While yes, one of the darkest episodes, it's also one of the realest. Love hurts, and we've all been there. Whether it's a family member, a friend, or a significant other, the pain we feel when they don't return the same affection can sting pretty miserably. However, even though Tom deserves someone who is going to give him the respect he deserves, he is also in the wrong here and fails to realize he doesn't have enough love for himself. He believed his girl was all he had, and that's exactly why he couldn't have her in his life. He didn't have a purpose outside of his toxic relationship. Whether or not somebody likes us is something that is out of our control. So why worry about seeking approval from people? Get yourself a partner who is going to love you for who you are, and not because of materialistic items such as money, cars, or jewelry. I'm no relationship coach, but if your relationship is built on money and nothing more, I'm willing to bet it is never going to last. Or even worse, it's going to be fake. By the end of the episode, the Titans ultimately accept the fact that Valior is who he is, and no matter how hard you try, you can't control what people think about you or what they say. The only thing you can't control is how you react to those types of people, by asking for help, staying true to yourself, and not letting people define your potential. Just because somebody says something about you, it doesn't make it true. Just because you're different, it doesn't make you inferior. What is beautiful, what is ugly, what is right, what is wrong, what does belong, what doesn't belong, it's all an illusion created by society to make people feel like they are above others. In the words of Starfire, there will always be people who say mean words because you are different. And sometimes their minds cannot be changed. But there are many more people that do not judge others based on how they look or where they came from. Those are the people whose words truly matter. And I'm here to tell you today, it doesn't matter what you look like, sound like, or any disabilities you may have, you do belong in this world and you are enough. At the end of the episode, the Hunchback thanks Courage for his kindness and hopes to find more people like him on his next adventure. He leaves with a smile on his face, very optimistic for the future. The point here is, it's still possible to find happiness in life even when things aren't as perfect as we want them to be. Now, don't summarize this as money doesn't buy happiness, because I actually don't agree with that statement. Money is great, and it can absolutely put a smile on our faces if we use it responsibly. However, it isn't everything. Society will sometimes rob us of our creativity and will instead put us in a box. Many people surrender to the idea that they have to be quote unquote normal and follow the system. This idea that we have to waste a significant portion of our life contributing to places that will drain us of our positive energy and make us feel stuck and powerless to the point where we end up like poor Squidward tentacles, absent of any form of optimism, with nothing but negative thoughts dragging our future down. Well, contrary to popular belief, what stops us isn't the work itself, the people around us, or those in charge, but instead what stops us is ourselves. We allow the words of others to define our potential. We let society win. But the truth is, we don't have to believe in anything people say. When society tries to kill our vibe or make us feel worthless, it's important not to start believing in that notion, and instead start believing in ourselves. Whatever dream or goal we want to pursue, we have to believe that we are already there, that we are already the greatest version of ourselves, and act that way. And as a result, that dream that we desire will manifest itself to us. So final words for this video, always remember that creativity is power, and power expresses itself through our own beliefs.
Hey, Bri,
Yeah?
how come you have a gun?
Brian, hesitant to answer his question, eventually confesses he keeps it in case he ever wants to commit suicide. He then reveals that Stewie's comments from yesterday about how he doesn't live with purpose is something that he agrees with himself. And no matter how many times he tries to find meaning in his life, he just can't. Stewie then informs Brian that he couldn't live without him in his life, and expresses his appreciation for everything he's done for him.
You give my life purpose, and maybe that's enough. That's just about the greatest gift one friend can give another.
Thank you.
Shortly after, The door finally opens, and they both head on their way. I watch Family Guy every now and then, but I wasn't expecting this episode to get this real. It kind of caught me off guard. Especially nowadays, this whole quarantine thing is driving a lot of us insane. I cannot stress enough the importance of looking out for one another and choosing love instead of fear. As much as it pains me to think about it, I know for a fact that at least one of you watching this video right now is going through something emotionally that could potentially lead to physical harm if not checked up on. And I know that I personally will never be able to comprehend the amount of pain you're going through, but I just want you to know it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to fight this alone, and it will get better. In fact, the possibilities are endless if we keep thinking positively. You are appreciated, and you do have a purpose. Even if it doesn't feel like it now, your potential is greater than you could ever imagine. As Timmy returns home, he reflects on how much he took his parents for granted, seeing how in every show he visited, the parents were either complete idiots or never around. He realizes that his parents aren't bad at all, and they're the only reason future Timmy was as badass as he was. That's what I love about this movie. It tells the audience, even though family isn't always perfect, it doesn't have to be to appreciate it for what it is. And what's truly important is the ability to understand and to communicate with one another. Our parents get on our nerves sometimes, but that frustration is temporary. When we put ourselves in our parents' shoes and at least try to relate to their perspective, it becomes easier for us to understand why they behave the way they do. And the same can be said for the other side as well. Timmy's parents realize how wrong they were about Vicky and how they should have listened to their son's cry for help. To make up for their mistake, they go on live TV to send a heartfelt message to their son. And by the end of the episode, the Turners have a mutual understanding and this beautiful reunion, followed by the most satisfying scene in Fairly Oddparents history. Vicky finally getting fired and Crocker giving up obsessing over fairies in order to do good things for humanity. It's a wonderful potential ending to the series, except all that gets erased, as if the episode never happened. It's a lame cop-out ending, but at least there's charm to it. What helped SpongeBob complete the essay is when he started to make it fun for him. His procrastination helped him come up with ideas to complete the essay. Sure, it was ultimately pointless because Mrs. Puff is a barnacle head, but you get my point. Sometimes we have to do boring work we don't want to do, but the best way to go about it, in my opinion, is to somehow, some way, make it enjoyable in any way possible, whether that's listening to music or giving ourselves a reward at the end of it all. There needs to be something to convince the brain that doing the work will be worth it. From my experience, procrastination happens for two main reasons. One, we don't actually care about what it is we need to get done, or two, the project is so ambitious we want to avoid the pain of doing the actual work or screwing it up. Number one is mainly what I'm talking about when I say realizing the benefit behind procrastination can be a real life changer. It's important to be honest with ourselves on why we don't want to do something. When something doesn't feel right, we can't just ignore that. Maybe that's not where our passion is, or maybe there's a more efficient way of going about it. This can be emotionally challenging to think about, but try to be open to new possibilities. And what's helped me for the second reason as to why procrastination occurs is just to break the project down a bit. It's exactly what SpongeBob did. He just started writing down quick notes. With ambitious projects, it's easy to put extra pressure on ourselves on getting the whole thing done in one go, but that's never an efficient way of doing anything really. Just take it one step at a time. If we start small, chances are we're going to have the motivation to end big. I want to end by letting this misconception be known. Just because we don't want to do something, that doesn't make us procrastinators. That doesn't make us lazy. It just means we're unmotivated. And is that really a bad thing? I'm not trying to justify unhealthy habits. Just because we're unmotivated, it doesn't mean we should just give up trying. But my point is, instead of worrying about how to stop procrastination, start thinking about how to get motivated. Our best work happens when we're inspired. Cusco and Isma both let ego get to their head, and they both face serious consequences for their selfish desires. I don't think ego is a bad thing though. In fact, I think it can be good to have a big ego. All it really means is that you love yourself. There's nothing wrong with thinking highly of yourself. In fact, that's what I encourage every video. Ego can be used as a tool to promote motivation and positivity within oneself. However, when it gets to our head and affects the lives of others in a negative way, that's when it becomes a problem. The message I'm trying to express here isn't to defeat the ego or be ashamed of the ego. It's instead to have the ability to control the ego and to use it with purpose. Because without control, it will turn you into an animal. Jake tells his friends that the story might have some major negative energy that's causing them to go bonkers. He then decides to finally reveal what he has been working on and starts playing the wonderful sounds of nature combined with some very relaxing music. This causes the rest of the team to finally shut up and relax, but suddenly the storm arrives and says that he's going to hurt the gang. Then he makes a comment about how he only feels good about himself when he causes pain to others. An idea hits Finn to sing the sounds of nature because the only way to fight negative energy is with positive energy. And it works. The storm calms down and all's well that ends well.
You know, you should really stop and slow down more often.
Yeah, you get to hear life happening. Makes you feel good.
I've been a freaky storm for so long that I forgot it's okay to be a breeze sometimes.
This episode not only shows what causes negative energy, which is living in fear, combined with a lack of self-love, but it also shows how to defeat it, which is by being grateful for life and by doing good things for others. At one point in this episode, LSP loses service on her phone and she breaks down. Jake then says, "That's why you should never rely on technology." This implies that instead of getting the answers online, Jake gets his answers from nature and by trusting the universe. Social media can carry tons of negative energy, and a lot of us aren't even aware of what we're consuming. That's when meditation comes in. It's all about awareness. It has nothing to do with judging yourself, worrying about events that haven't happened yet, or trying to figure life out. Many of us are either perfectionists, workaholics, or we get so caught up in worrying about the future that we completely miss the beauty of living in the present moment. I think everyone should at least give meditation a chance, especially during the time we live in now where there's so many different ways to access the technique, such as guided meditations on YouTube, relaxing in nature, or downloading an app on your phone. If there's one thing to take away from this episode, it's the importance of taking a moment to sit down, stop thinking, stop worrying, and appreciate the things that most people ignore. Doing that will not only create good jubies, but it will annihilate bad jubies.
Josh, what? Look, I'm sorry. Well, look, let me finish, okay? I was wrong, okay? I was wrong. I need you way more than you need me, alright? Man, I'm sorry I made you late for your exam, and I'm sorry I ran over your bike, and I'm sorry I'm probably the worst brother in the world, and, you know, you're way better off without me, you know? I just need you to understand that, sorry, Josh, I'm sorry.
We all have disputes with our siblings, friends, or anyone else that we deeply care about. Sometimes they do things that are seemingly unforgivable, and because of our confusion, we revert to shaming or shunning that person. Our beef with someone can escalate over time, and it can cause more drama in the future than just forgiving them altogether. I've said it so many times on this channel that if you ever want to forgive someone, the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is to put yourself in that person's shoes and try to relate from their perspective. It may not justify their actions, but it does paint the bigger picture. None of us are perfect. Some of us need more help than others. But I challenge you today to let go of whatever beef you have with someone, and what you'll find is that you'll not only feel a sense of relief, but just like Josh, you can open the door for what great memories lie ahead. Well, if I'm already perfect, then what's the point of trying to improve? What's the point of trying to better my career? I might as well just become a sloth and do nothing for the rest of my life if self-love is all I need. But what you're not realizing is that is not self-love. That is not fully expressing yourself. In the words of Mordecai in the episode Rick Beats Body, that mindset just makes you a loser.
Dude, quit being a loser.
And if you want to truly understand the definition of self-respect, I highly recommend watching this episode. To briefly explain, Rigby and Mordecai eat a bunch of junk food and they both get really sick. Mordecai suggests that maybe they should eat a salad or something else that's actually healthy, but Rigby, for some reason, thinks that if he keeps eating junk food, he will feel better in no time. So that's exactly what he does. He eats more junk food. Mordecai warns him that if he continues to disrespect his body, then his body will quit on him. And what do you know? That's exactly what happens.
I was right. My stomach doesn't even hurt anymore.
That's because you don't even have a body anymore.
This episode shows that addictions to short-term pleasures and an uncaring attitude is only going to screw you later in life. That's what love can do sometimes. It can keep us in denial. Our world is constantly changing for the better or for the worst according to our ideologies. Some of us have regrets, opportunities that we wish we would have acted upon, but we didn't know any better, so what is there to regret? If anything, those experiences make us smarter. Some of us want certain things to remain the same forever, but what's the fun in that? Nothing lasts forever, but that's exactly what makes life so precious. Instead of trying to change the past, a better idea would be to do everything we can to attract a brighter future. Consider this possibility. What if there is something better planned for your life than what there was before? Then that changes everything. But if we stay stuck in the past, we'll never be open to that possibility. With that being said, when things change, I encourage you not to think of it as something negative, but to instead start thinking of it as a new opportunity.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. From every tenement and every hamlet, from every state to every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands in singing the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
I Had a Dream is the perfect title for this episode, not only because, spoiler alert, this entire episode was literally just a dream, but Black History Month represents a generation of heroes who had a dream, a vision in their head for how they wanted the world to change for the better, and what they proved was that dreams can manifest through the law of attraction. It's a celebration of individuals who took action and acted as if they lived in a world where equal rights for every race from any country was possible, even if the dream sounded ridiculous at the time to certain individuals. Because in order to manifest a dream into reality, you mentally have to become that dream version of yourself.
A deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
The power of the human voice is something that I don't think is realized as much as it should be. And I'm not just talking about already established celebrities. You watching this video, yes, you have a voice. And that voice has more potential than you could ever imagine. But that is only realized through action and determination. Whether that's contributing to a peaceful protest or expressing your opinions via a social media platform. I know it sounds cliche, but you can make a difference too. And I mean that. If you have a dream, why not go after it? If there is something you believe the world needs more of, be that thing. Make yourself proud. It's interesting. The amount of messages that I've gotten over the months from some of my viewers talking about how nobody loves them or something else depressing is heartbreaking. But none of that is true. It's all in our head because we allow specific people in our society to lower our confidence. We believe in what people who don't even understand us have to say, when the majority of it is petty nonsense created to lower our vibration. Deep down, you know you're important. It's just certain words that triggers your subconscious mind to believe otherwise. Now, here's the thing. Even when you realize this, some days are still just going to be crappy. That's just reality. Life is a never-ending circle. It's repetitive. You have your ups, you have your downs, then you have your ups, and now you're back down. And that goes on for weeks, months, years, like when does it all end? After contemplating this question for a while, the answer is actually pretty simple. It never does. That might sound depressing or whatever, but that belief is actually where the problem lies. We automatically assume that depression is bad. That's why we do whatever we can to run away from it. But it's inevitable. We're all going to have those days, those nights. A lot of us are trying to reach a never-ending state of happiness when it doesn't exist. I guess what I'm trying to say is, sometimes you might not feel okay, but that's okay. Feelings are not bad. Emotions are not bad. And it's not being able to express our emotions that's causing the depression to get worse and worse. With that being said, start being aware of your emotions. Don't try to judge it, don't try to change it, but instead learn to love it. Yes, learn to love depression. I'm serious, because what is happiness without sadness? So don't let those negative thoughts defeat you, because the world needs you. It's brief, but in this episode, SpongeBob demonstrates the most important part in awakening your creative abilities, and that is realizing the concept of visualization. Meaning, if you can't see yourself as the best at what you do, if you can't see yourself as somebody who is already successful, not now or in the future, then that will continue to be your reality until the day you die. People can laugh, people can think you're a fool for thinking so highly of yourself, but what they're not realizing is it is a fact that your beliefs create your reality. The problem is people are too scared to have that amount of faith in themselves. That is why I challenge you today to not be afraid to be that elephant in the room, to not be afraid to express yourself, to not be afraid of going out there and be the greatest artist who ever lived. His boss took the opportunity to make him feel depressed and powerless, trying to manipulate Homer into believing that there was no escaping the depressing situation that he's in. That's a pretty accurate way of demonstrating how these companies try to control us in real life, by putting fear and doubt into our hearts. Clearly, Homer needed a way to feel inspired again, and he did that by remembering what he truly cares about. He made the most out of a crappy situation by turning a negative thought into something positive. That's how you become unstuck, that's how you win. Because as Homer demonstrates in this episode, it's all about mindset. We can make the decision to either let society believe we are nothing and control us, or we can take our power back and remember what or who we're doing something all for.
A lot of people here. Okay, let's do over. Let me do this.
It's moments like these that make us cringe in our head and pray to God that it never happens to us. And in this particular moment, you feel for this character. He's clearly not good at this kind of thing. Heck, he's not good at a lot of things. and he wasn't even that good at high school. But your weaknesses don't matter when you are determined to accomplish something. It's okay to want to impress other people if that's where you get your motivation from, but that can only get you so far. It's pretty easy to give up on your dreams. If you slack off and let your personal addictions control you, then you can almost kiss your dreams goodbye. Even when you take the easiest path to get there, you'll still be faced with obstacles that might stop your progress if you allow it to. That's when it's time to decide if you still want to accomplish your dream because you just want to impress other people, or if you would rather do it for yourself. People don't want to change because they're afraid of how different their lives would be if they actually did what they were supposed to do. But more often than not, the only difference is the joy of living a happier life and becoming more badass by default. Because once you do the hard stuff, it gradually becomes easy. It becomes who you are. You become the person you always wanted to be, but you never allowed yourself to be. One way to get started is by not trying to impress others, but instead by surrounding yourself with impressive people. People who lift your spirit and encourage you that all your dreams are possible, no matter the age. The truth is, you're never too old to accomplish your dreams, so why not just do it now? Maybe just like Rigby, your success could also inspire the world. All of a sudden, a whole city that was in a great mood a few hours ago turns into the apocalypse over a damn butterfly. The assumptions and rumors spread from two individuals who don't even understand the big picture is enough to spread fear to every single person and cause absolute chaos to Bikini Bottom. Yesterday, the vibe was all happiness and loving, and this day marks the day where fear has taken control over everyone's life. SpongeBob and Patrick, for some reason, believe that they did a good thing, when all they did was make the situation worse with their fear tactics.
We did it, Patrick! We saved the city!
Now, to prevent any confusion as to what I'm ultimately saying, I want to make the following point, and that is that I'm not saying the pandemic's not real or Kobe didn't die, for instance. There are obviously serious current events and moments in life that should make you feel a certain type of way, and if they don't, well then I would argue that you're either faking how you really feel, or as a human being you should care more about tragic events. The point is that the world will do whatever it can to put you in a state of fear, even when you're not looking for it, because those that are in fear are easier to control. And honestly, I swear every year is the new quote, worst year. In 2012, I remember vividly, people were claiming that was the worst year, and then 2016 came along and that was the worst year, and then 2019 comes and that's the worst year, and what do you know, 2020 is now considered the worst year. You get what I'm saying? Like, according to bots and social media, every year is the worst year. And that's exactly what they want you to think. I don't know if I live on a different planet or something, but honestly, when I step out into the real world, I don't see mass destruction, buildings burning down, or signs of the world ending anytime soon. It looks pretty normal to me. And I get it, some people don't want to hear that for some reason. They want to believe that the only way out is to fall into the Great Depression, and if you say anything related to the idea of there still being enjoyment left on Earth, then you're delusional and can't accept people's feelings. Shout out to my man Ralph Smart. Let love guide you, not fear. Even with all the rumors, try not to fear the butterfly. Thanks for watching.